We just got back from racing this Nova 2 back-to-back weekends, and I just learned an important lesson about carburetors. I've used carburetors for years. My Nova over here did start its life long before the turbos and EFI. It was carbureted with nitrous also. Throughout that time, I used a conventional style carburetor, something like this here, with 4 individual smaller venturis. Now, the idea with smaller venturis is that the airspeed is higher. And with a carburetor, the important lesson which was reaffirmed these past 2 weekends is that the airspeed is king for fuel atomization. Now, unlike an EFI car, where regardless of the amount of inlet airspeed or inlet air volume, the atomization of the fuel is dictated by the fuel injector, regardless of the run conditions. On a carburetor, the atomization of the fuel is dictated by the airflow dynamic through the booster, through the main venturi, as it's drawn into the engine. Here is some footage from the first test session of the year. So most of the hard parts in the car remain unchanged. This is single venturi carbs, but we do have a new torque converter in there we're testing. So here we go. So that turned out to be a nice smooth A to B pass. Car did not feel as quick as it should have though on that tune-up. Now the torque converter was definitely tighter and prepared for a lot more horsepower of nitrous, but in this case a little bit too slow. Something's up. Straight down Broadway.
Nice hit, man. Yeah. That looks fucking awesome.
So we've jumped forward in time now 1 week later, and we've changed both carburetors, and we're trying a looser torque converter. So these are now 4-barrel carburetors. Let's see what happens. So that run felt really good. The car left strong with that new torque converter, much higher stall speed and flash speed as you can tell. But unfortunately, right after the 1-2 gear change, the car felt like it laid over a bit and was down on power. So at this point, I'm suspecting something is definitely up, and head back to the pit to look into it. Turns out 1 cylinder went down and there's oil on the spark plug. For a few years now, we've been trying to get this little small block working with these really trick carburetors called SV1s, or single venturi. They use a massive single, full of fuel, single venturi like this, which in a wide open throttle situation is great, very little restriction, huge amount of airflow potential, but there's one problem. And that's all the situations away from wide open throttle, or where you have a small motor at low engine speeds, the airspeed is also low, does not atomize the fuel as well. Instead of a fine mist of fuel getting drawn into the cylinder at idle, that lower airspeed results in larger fuel droplets getting drawn into the cylinder. Now what's the problem with large fuel droplets? Those droplets of fuel can actually coat the cylinder wall and strip that oil from the surface, creating a metal on metal contact between the piston ring and the cylinder wall. And because the piston ring is typically harder material than the cylinder wall, that ring will scrape the finish off the cylinder wall and reduce the ring's ability to seal. Now this creates 2 issues. 1, fuel can get past the ring and actually accelerate this degradation of seal. And 2, oil gets past the ring coming the other direction. And oil in the combustion chamber results in major issues for combustion. Now, that's eventually what we saw with this small block here. Had we noticed? Oil on the spark plug and a misfire that would pick up on certain cylinders depending on the load condition. So what does that mean? Well, the engine's getting torn down right now. And we've also picked up these carburetors. So these are also super trick, full billet, but we've gone back to an individual Venturi style. On the tunnel ram configuration over here, you can imagine that each of these individual Venturis feeds one cylinder on the engine. So the idea with moving from a single big to 4 smalls is, although the total flow through the body of the carb should be equivalent, the individual airspeed through each Venturi is higher, which means the fuel should atomize better and get a better burn more efficiently in the chamber, and ultimately prevent from washing down the cylinder walls again and losing ring seal. We're gonna get these carburetors set up on the tunnel ram, but in the meantime, we gotta get this engine torn down because we got a chance to test in 1 week from today. Check it out. So heads are off. See that beautiful billet block, really trick, and the massive lifters. So we do have a problem with cylinder wall finish. This was the particularly bad one here. See some watermarks in the back one. Most of the time when you think of rebuilding engines, especially rebuilding a racing engine, you think of like a controlled environment, some clean room, something like that. But oftentimes with race cars, if you're able, you're gonna do it right in the car. Motor plate and mid plate allow us to tear this thing completely down with the block and crank staying in the car. This is what we call the dingle ball hone. This stone assembly, this happens to be 240 grit from Mr. Little Pickle. So we've already got this side all honed in and finished up. Kind of see updated finish on these bores. Let's check out this side. This bore we just honed, and that one is not honed yet. So the biggest thing you can see by eye is how shiny this bore is, this finish, versus this one. Of course there's a sheen to it, but you can see kind of the rough crosshatch pattern that's been put back into the bore. Again, compare with this one, shiny. You see the kind of darkness reflecting there, and then this one. So the goal is to get them all looking like this. And this is what you see when you totally knock the peaks down. It's smooth and shiny, and there's nowhere for the oil to cling. Best visual comparison we can do. So I'm gonna get the rest of those honed up. Definitely got the glaze off. Some of the surface finish restored. There's a whole science to establishing cylinder wall finish. On kind of a race rebuild like this, you gotta do the best that you can with the tools you got. I'm hoping in this freshening, it's gonna get them sealed back up, and we're gonna put it to the test right away. We've got one cylinder head on, the short block is together. I just got the other head prepped up with some Hylamar. I'm gonna show you that and how I like to seal up the head gaskets. We got this cylinder head with a light skim of Hylamar on it, setting up here in the sun real quick. That cylinder head is on and torqued, oil pan is on, dry sump is together, short block is in. See this side, got the deck surface prepped, the head gasket is prepped with some Hylamar. We are reusing those copper ones. It is double O-ringed, O-ring in the head, O-ring in the block. Hit that point in the evening where we are making our own gaskets. We will fire up when the silicone dries. Let's go. All right, here we go. This is the first official fire up on a fresh rebuild, new carburetors on top. This is always a little bit nerve-wracking, also super exciting, and always really fulfilling when it pays off and you get a healthy engine running well. So let's see what happens real time. Alright, it's 7 p.m. Saturday night. I think we're gonna head to the track in the morning. We got last day to test the car. Race style engine build was successful, which is great. We found a hole in the intake port in the spring pocket. So when the cylinder head was machined for a large diameter valve spring, due to the raised intake port, so how tall the intake port is in the head and how deep the pocket was machined, there was a little punch through. Now, it seems like originally that had been like epoxied or silicone or something underneath the spring that had broken through and caused an oil leak. That was the root cause of the oil on that cylinder. Now, either way, the cylinders needed a hone, so I think the ring seal is going to improve and power should pick up. But we did finally get that fixed now, and in doing so also found a broken valve spring. Check this out. Underneath the retainer on that cylinder was this broken piece of the inner valve spring. Broken piece off the top, right off there. Go past Little Pickle headquarters. He said he's got a couple springs in the shelf. We're gonna see if we find one that fits. Yeah, the engine sounds really healthy, so excited to go. So that was the first run after the full rebuild and the first run with the brand new carburetors. Lots to unpack. So obviously the car stumbled getting up on the trans brake, and after the launch it also had a little bit of a burble. Now this seems to be due to the intermediate circuit or the third circuit on these carburetors. Let's see the run from outside. Up to the line for the second run. Here we made some changes to the intermediate circuit air bleeds and also to the accelerator pump. So let's see what it does. So after 3 weekends of testing, 6 carburetors, and 1 engine rebuild, I learned the important lesson that airspeed is king when it comes to fuel atomization. But now, I've got to learn how to tune an intermediate circuit. That's to be continued.